and then we'll sing a waiata. E oha ki runga ki a ranginui, e oha ki raro ki a papatūnuku, turakina ngā mea, kino ki te pai atia, uhia mai o korowai aroha, hei taonga ma mātou, ka puta ki te waiao, ki te ao marama, haumi e, hui e, tai ki e. And please stand for the waiata, which is he horere this morning.
He honore, he karakia, maungarongo ki te whenua, wakaro, pai e, ki ngā tangata katoa, aki ake, aki ake, amine, te atua, te piringa, toku oranga, toku oranga.
Thanks very much. And I said to Councillor Kate before that I'm setting a target for this meeting at 45 minutes. So let's try hit it. So
Can I object to that?
what's that? Councillor Stevens, did he used to do that? All right, well, I'll challenge Councillor Stevens for this morning, and yes, we're going to aim for 45 minutes. So I'll start with the apologies. Do we have any apologies this morning?
Charlie.
Councillor Charlie? That's all. Okay, can I have a mover for those apologies, please? Glenda, and a seconder. Ross, all those in favour? Aye. Against, that's carried. Any declarations of interest? No? Perfect. Okay, confirmation of the minutes from the meeting on the 10th of September. Any comments on those? Can I have a mover, please? Peter, and a seconder. Kate, all those in favour? Aye. Against, that's carried. Right, and we'll move into the first report. This is item 6.1, the project reporting to the Projects and Community Grants Committee. And I will hand over to Lance. Are you opening, or am I handing straight over to Trish? Okay, Trish, welcome.
Kia ora koutou, thank you for having me. I just want to, I'm presenting the reporting to Projects and Community Grants Committee for project reporting on behalf of David. So just some main points from the report that you've already received. The framework was rolled out across Council 2 weeks ago. We're currently working on a process for project managers to report on the progress of projects through to the PMO. It's going to be similar to other reporting that they're doing at the moment. There's the process of establishing projects is a transparent process for staff, community and contractors, and it's of the pipeline of projects over the next 10 years. Changes have been made changes to be made to the plan, if there's any new projects that eventuate, will be done through either the annual plan process by exception only, or through the long-term plan, next long-term plan process. A point of entry business case can be developed at any stage to determine if the project is viable, and if approved it will go through the next long-term plan deliberations. We'll know in advance what impact on the rates will be of projects that are coming in, and we now have a process for post-project reviews and benefits realisation tracking. Kia ora koutou, any questions?
Thanks, Trish, and I'll just welcome Deputy Mayor Helen, who I've just seen pop up on Zoom as well. Thank you. Yeah, I'll start with a question, Trish, just around the. I think you've talked in here in the report around a select number of Tier 2 projects that will be reported on. How are those select few determined? What's the criteria that'll be used determine whether a Tier 2 makes it into this reporting structure?
Well, at the moment, we're looking at all Tier 1 and Tier 2 projects.
All Tier 2 as well?
Because there's a
Okay.
limited number of projects each year. So the PMO will report projects through to ELT and then through to this committee on the progress of projects. We're not going to do Tier 3 because they're little value, low risk projects. Some of them are maintenance based, some of them are part of a program of works. So we're focusing on the Tier 2 and Tier 1 projects at this stage.
Perfect.
Unless there is a project that's specifically going to be reported through to council, and that's through the Ops and Performance Committee, where there'll be individual project reporting status updates that currently happen at the moment.
Perfect, thank you. I'll start with me, Andrew.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Trish. And so I just want to give you a scenario. It's a question on that basis. So just say in an annual plan cycle that we came up with a brilliant idea, someone came up with a brilliant idea, either from the community or from within, and we decided to do that. It might be a Tier 2 expensive project, and we decided that we were going to do it. Would we then have to drop out projects of an equivalent cost to be able to cater for that particular project? Is that how it would work?
Well, it is based on what's above and below the line, so if something's getting added in, then something may have to come out,
Sure.
depending on what's in the budget, because it's been budgeted for over that 10-year period of time. That's why it's exception only, that we'll look at them through the annual plan process.
Yep.
And if it is something that is urgent that needs to be done straight away, then there'll be provisions within that. And ELT will go through that process to determine and then report through.
Okay, so just to follow up on that, so the prioritisation list of projects is something that this committee will get visibility of?
You've got visibility of the priority of projects.
And that's what that is?
That's what that is
That's
at the
what that
moment.
is there?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so, okay, this is, obviously it doesn't have the weightings or the evaluation criteria next to it, but it's just,
No.
okay, that's fine, thank you.
Is it a supplementary to that one? Yeah.
Is, so there is a process that's about exceptions to the 10-year plan, isn't there, that management might want to add to this conversation? Because it's not, well, generally I would, in my experience, what, you're quite right, that what will come in and move out, it's a bit of a shifting thing. But if, I don't know, was it last year we did exceptions to the 10-year plan? And that's what we consulted on?
So if there is an exception, so the point of entry business case will come through, it'll be assessed and ranked like every other project to determine if it's actually viable for a start. It'll then be, all point of entry business cases are presented to this committee to determine whether it's a go, no go as far as viability is concerned, and then it goes to ranking where it sits within the long-term plan for being able to be delivered against the budget.
Yes, at the same time, if it was something and, you know, we got a bit of rush of blood to our heads and decided we want to do this project in year one and that would change the rates, etc., then we would consult on an exception to the 10-year plan.
Yes.
Is kind of the process. So kind of in addition to what you're saying.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Were you done with your line of questioning, Andrew? Yep. I'll go to Councillor Glenda next.
Thank you. Thanks, Trish. Just going back a step further to the point of entry business case, which gets done to determine which tier it is, doesn't it? Can you give a rough indication of how long that process takes? Is it different for every project, or?
Well, it won't take long for a point of entry business case to be assessed, so it may take time to develop the point of entry business case. Once it's developed, it comes through to the PMO, and the PMO will assess it just to make sure that it meets all the criteria of what needs to be in a point of entry business case. Then it will go through to ELT, so it'll be reported monthly through to ELT, the list of point of entry business cases that are received. ELT will then peer review it, and then it will come to the next projects committee. So there is a timeline in there, but depending on when it's received through the PMO to ELT.
timing with the meetings.
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
And Councillor Peter.
Yeah, thank you for the report. I only have one more question. I had already had answers to two of them, and that is we are now open for business, so
Yes.
somebody can just,
Yes, anybody can put in a point of entry business case at all, whether it be community, staff, councillors, and they'll all be processed the same way.
and so it's supplementary to that. Who do they send it to?
So any point of entry business case comes through to the PMO, and there's a PMO at wanganui.gov.nz email address where they come to, or they just come and talk to me, and then I'll take it from there.
Okay, thank you.
Brilliant. And Councillor Rob.
Yeah, thank you. Couple of questions. The criteria for T1 and T2, can you explain what that is? And which projects are currently in T1 and T2?
So there's only, the process for assigning a ranking, there's about 7 different criteria that a project has to meet to determine a score, and then the score determines what tier rating it is. So every project is put through the same process, and it's based on budget, it's based on business readiness, it's based on the number of stakeholders that are involved, risk. There's a number of things that it's strategic alignment.
So have you separated a list out currently of T1 and T2?
Yes, we have. So that's on the back here.
Okay.
So we've got one Tier 1 project at the moment, which is the Dublin Street Bridge in this long-term plan.
You can see that there's a column there, Rob, on the left-hand side immediately after the project name that has the tier ranking listed down it.
Okay, thank you. And the next question is, this committee, I don't think meets again this year. I think that's the case. We'll be October now. How does the annual plan process starts usually in November, December?
Sorry, Rob, just quickly, I'll just make the point that we do have a meeting scheduled for December.
Okay, well that's good. So to get into the annual plan, anything would have to be at that meeting, is that right?
Well, annual plan, when do they put deliberations through for the annual plan? Is that February next year?
Yeah.
So it'll be right through until, as they come about, they'll be presented to this committee. So if there are some that are presented to me between now and the next meeting in November, then they'll be presented. Otherwise, it will be the following meeting.
Generally speaking, though, I mean, we do get draft budgets to read over the summer period, which would have the projects that we expect to be included in year 2 in them.
Yeah.
What we could do is clarify that with David once he returns.
And it is only by exception. So we've got year 2, which will be year 1 next year of the annual plan already in here. So it's only by exception anything that comes through. So I wouldn't imagine that there'll be a great deal that will come through.
Okay. There's a table here on page 21 of projects right out to year 10. They're marked as year 1.5, 2.5, 3.5. What's the significance of doing that? What does that mean?
Dollar.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
It's pretty small. It's pretty small to read. I broke my glasses while I was away, and I've had to use some old ones. So these projects that are in year 1, the ones that are tier 1 and tier 2, will they be reported on to this December meeting?
Yes. We're just in the process of getting the reporting structure set up, and I'm hoping to have that done by the end of November. So I'm hoping to have something for you for that next meeting. Well, it's mid-November actually. It's about the 16th of November we've got that date. So it might be last minute reporting, but we are currently working through that process at the moment to have something for that next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
We also have in this agenda the work program, which will obviously, as it develops, provide an indication as to what will be reported from one meeting to the next.
Yep.
And we've got the chair's briefing as well, where we can clarify that too.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Any further questions, Ross?
Thank you. Excellent report. On page 17, it states at the bottom, when a new draft project has been penciled in, for example, the 28-29 year, because the rates forecast for that year is relatively low, so the project is considered affordable. My question then would be, community or us or officers come to us with a project, we say it's worthy, and we are looking for a year in the 10-year plan to place it. So whomever brings this worthy project needs to be patient, like some are already in our 10-year plan, to go into a relatively low rates year. I guess my question then is, I actually don't know how to frame it, to be honest, but I think the word is low. I don't think any year is low for a ratepayer, so I'm not disputing it. I'm just saying it's an interesting word. And can a project that is worthy, depending on how we do our annual plans or our 3-year, 10-year plan review, could a project that's, say, penciled for 28, 29, and we discover the rates are going to be lower than we thought earlier, can that project be brought on earlier? Does that make sense, hypothetically?
It does make sense, and that will be done through the budgeting process.
Okay.
I'd also suggest that it's probably a balance of political decision making there, but also taking into account the resources of the organisation. I mean, if something's been scheduled further out, then the resources to deliver that project would have been scheduled to meet that timeline. So we would need to take that into account if we chose to bring it forward.
Right. Thank you.
I'll go to Councillor Kate next, and then Philippa.
Thank you. Thanks for the report, Trish. And I appreciate and acknowledge that you're working through the reporting process. At the same time, can I suggest that by our December meeting, we should have, even if it's a verbal or a couple of sentences on each item scheduled for year one and what the progress is on that. It doesn't need to be deep, but, you know, halfway through the year, we should be getting a progress report.
And that's what we're anticipating.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you.
Can I just add to that, Kate? Yeah, so that's on track. We would have liked to probably started reporting earlier, but with the efficiency savings that you're all aware of, we've had to pull back on the software, or whatever it's called, the IT side of the reporting system, and so we are working with a far more nuts and bolts approach at the moment that is a lot more manual for the PMO to work with, so that's kind of pushed it out a little bit too.
Thank you. Absolutely appreciate that. But someone will have their eye over each item in year one, and so yeah, just a bit of an update would be appropriate. Thank you.
Thanks, Kate. Councillor Philippa.
Just a question, like, where do things like regional deals, government stuff, you know, government comes up with some new money and we go, oh, there's something there that, you know, we think we've got benefit of regionally, or, you know, change of government. So, you know, a year and a half time, there could be a change of government. I mean, I'm just checking that, obviously, this is a great plan. We've got Tier 1, Tier 2 projects we're going to be reported on, and things come and go and change, and we know that, and we have another 10-year plan in 2 years or so, 2.5 years, but everything, there's a bigger picture out there that could open our eyes or impact us, or a significant event that hits us and changes, because we're, in the end of the day, we're talking, this is this is basically talking about our 10-year plan and our rates, what we've told the community we're going to rate them at, and what we're going to deliver on.
So they will be exception cases. So if something props up, there's funding available. That's also a different matter because it's being funded externally. So a project that is being funded externally may go into it and can be delivered as soon as it's ready to be delivered because it's not reliant on our budget funding. So this is our 10-year plan budget. If there's something that isn't budgeted for but it is a priority, central government or regional or whatever it may be, then that will be considered through the annual plan process.
Yeah, that's a great question, Philip. Just to add to that, it's likely that regional deals, they're going to be called regional deals, not city deals. Regional deals will be part of the picture going forward. It's a matter of when we are eligible for that, Wanganui, and who we partner with and all that kind of thing. So, but I would imagine something like the Dublin Street Bridge on our list of projects would be a typical regional deal kind of project. And so really what we're talking about is the magnitude of funding that we would get from central government. The project, I'd imagine, would still be there, it'll still be a tier 1 project, but it'll be a matter of maybe more funding, hopefully, as part of a regional deal. Yeah. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Andrew. Anything further, Philippa?
No, I think Rob kind of had a question, but
Oh, I think that
I
mic
think
might have been left
glasses
on from the
overseas.
previous one. Well, we won't wait for him. If he had a question, he's missing out. Can I have a mover, Kate, and a seconder, please? Peter, and any comments? Andrew.
Yeah, look, I just want to say when this project, when this committee was set up, this is exactly what I envisaged it to be. And I know we're still on a bit of a journey to mature projects at the council, and also that will also help beef up the reporting in this particular committee as well. But what I would say is that the whole concept of a projects and grants committee is to put the blowtorch on, to put the focus on, and be more diligent and prudent in how we deliver projects for our community. Obviously, the more efficient we are with delivering projects, the more we can do, and also hopefully at a cheaper cost as well. So I think all in all, I'm looking forward to seeing how this plays out in regard to benefiting our district. Yeah. Cool.
Thanks, Andrew. I'll go to Kate next.
I think Ross was up first.
Ross, go for it.
I'm happy to wait.
You go.
Okay, thank you, Chair. To me, it's one of the most exciting documents around because it's so explicit and clear. It maps out the next 10 years. It clarifies what could happen in a low-rate year or new ideas that might come through. So I think it's an excellent document for myself and the public because I went on their website yesterday and I typed in business cases for the camera, and it listed all the projects that we're doing over the next 10 years. Oh my gosh. And the projects that didn't cut, that didn't make it. And I think if the public has a particular interest in a project, they may want to go in there and it's a PDF, but they may well want to go in there and have a look at the sheer number of projects that we're engaged. I think at the moment we've got about 150 projects on the go, roughly. But that kind of clarity is brilliant. And this document, I'm going to have a hard copy of it so that I have quick access to it, so that our public understands that the word project doesn't mean a Dublin Bridge or a Sargent Gallery, something enormous. It can be something quite small like a culvert. And for that, I'm just so excited that I can see and deep dive into those matters. So thank you for that.
Thanks, Ross. And Kate.
Thank you. I just want to congratulate Lance, Trish and your teams. This is about creating order and equity in terms of community projects, which essentially at the end of the day is what they are. They're projects for our community, and I think it's bringing that equity lens that we've not seen before. So congratulations and keep up the good work.
Thanks, Kate. I'll go to Rob next.
I had just had another question, thanks, Mr. Chair. Are there any projects currently that you received business cases for that are under consideration
Outside of this,
outside of this? Yeah,
no,
there is nothing. So
not that I've seen. There may be some in the works, so people may be doing the groundwork to do a point of entry business case, but at the moment there's not.
Yeah, okay. And are we speaking?
We're speaking now, so
Okay,
if you
so-
want to comment, that's fine.
Thank you. Well, I would like to make the point that this is great stuff. It's good planning, and that's what the 10-year plan is. To my mind, it's a financial instrument to make sure that this council stays within budget and it doesn't overextend itself in 10 years, and it's great. But it's not set in stone. Every year we should consider new things. Just because we do a 10-year plan, we don't suddenly go into some hibernation for 10 years and think that, there's nothing else. I know we have a 3-year review, but no one should be frightened about bringing forward ideas and things like that simply because here's our 10-year, we can't do it. We have to be flexible. And this community will go stagnant if we're not. So it's good to see this. It's good planning. But it is just that, planning. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob. I'll go to Philippa.
Yeah, thank you. Basically agreeing and following on from all the other speakers, but also the benefit, the post-implementation review is great to read. It's very important. The Chief Executive spoke to it previously. Obviously, it's something that we would all think should always have been in place, and it's been in place at times and not. And, yes, it's, you can't look back. You can only look forward and learn from stuff. But I think that'll be really important. And, obviously, and it mentions the Sargent Gallery, so that will be, I guess, a Tier 1 project that within a year we're going to get a good post-implementation review. We won't possibly see the full picture there because it's a long-term project, I guess, but it's going to need, hopefully it tells us some really good stuff, and it's probably going to tell us some stuff that's not so good that we already know about, but it also would help learn from that project and other projects. But I would like to think that somehow we're also thinking, like looking at our CCO kind of committee stuff and our projects like the port and NZICPA, and if you go to Wanganui and Partners, that part of our enterprise and projects they're involved in, that we're kind of taking this kind of lens to everything we're doing, to everything we're doing in a project sense, and that would they filter up through this or through their own reporting lines, that I think we've just got to do, we can only do better than this. We're in a tight environment. Hope, things might start to ease with inflation and interest rates, but, huge burden on our community that will flow through, that we've got and flow through for time. And it's kind of quite sad that in some ways we're hearing that, we know we've got to find another $1 million of saving even to realise our annual plan, the current annual plan within these 4 walls, and we're having to be, so we're having to, sacrifice stuff here that make us be more effective, and we're having to scrimp on some things in our community that desperately need help, because some other big projects, just keep needing more money. So good stuff. We're writing, the proof's in the pudding, as it says, but we look forward to some really good scrutiny and value for our community here, and efficiency and effectiveness. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Philippa. And I'll just make the point that when and Mayor Andrew might want to comment on this, but I recall that one of the conversations that we had when we were setting up this committee was an acknowledgement of the fact that these Tier 1 and 2 projects are significant costs, that we are at a time of significant financial pressure, and we wanted to give more scrutiny to these projects than perhaps they'd been receiving over the first part of the triennium. So that is the intent behind this committee. The other point I'd make is that I don't think there's any suggestion that this new process will result in stagnation over the course of the 10-year plan. Elected members that have been around this table for a while will recall that there have been capital budgets allocated in the past that did not have the necessary resourcing to actually implement them, and this process ensures that anything that we schedule within their 10-year plan actually has the resourcing in order to be implemented. So my view is that it's a better process. And of course, through the point of entry business case process, there is more transparency for the community around how they can find their project or the potential for their project to be included within that. So I'm very happy with the new structure, and I think it's going to be good for this organisation. I'll leave it there. So thank you, Glenda. Wait, we've already moved and seconded, haven't we? I think. Yes, we have. All those in favour? Against? That's carried. Thanks very much, Trish. Appreciate it. And we'll move to 6.2, which is the community grant funding reporting to the Projects and Grants Committee. Lance, are you leading off on this? Perfect.
So I'm going to quickly cover some highlights from this report, but just want to make sure you're aware this was David Langford's report, and he's on leave, so I'm just covering it in his absence as such. So I didn't write it. But much like the prior report on projects, this is just a bit of an explanation of how the grant funding reporting will come through to this committee. And a couple of points I wanted to just sort of mention. So the three primary delegations for awarding funding to the community group, without reading them through because you would have read the paper, but perhaps for those listening, there's line item funding, so the non-contestable funds that have specific budget lines already, such as the money set aside each year for surf lifesaving. There's the contestable pool of grant funding administered by the council officers, for example, the Heritage Building Preservation Fund, and that's under the delegation of the Chief Executive. And then the contestable pool of grant funding that's administered by the council and or this committee. An example of that's the Community Contracts Fund. So they're the sort of primary delegations. The council has asked for a review of the community grant funding, and just so to be clear, there is a working party being established for that review to be carried out, and that will look at all and everything to do with the grant funding process, who receives them, and how it's all sort of allocated, etc. So that's in its infancy, but there is a working group established for that. And then just wanted to touch on the mention and hear from David around the risk of the recent government announcements. In particular, the signal to remove the 4 well-beings. So at this stage, we don't really know what that impact's going to be, and necessarily what will be replaced by, or what impact it may have on this in terms of core or non-core. But it could be a risk to the way that we sort of administer and manage the grant funding process as such. So other than that, I'll take the paper as read. Happy to answer any questions.
Thanks,
or
Lance.
defer them to David.
I might just quickly before we do questions. Helen, are you still online? Take that as a no. Okay. I was just going to see whether Helen wanted to provide an update on the work of the working party. I know that we've got a contestable grant workshop coming up shortly, but no, that's fine. We'll just leave it there, and I'll throw it open for questions if anyone's got anything. Rob.
I see I'm coming up as Councillor Chandler Mackay. That's what.
I'm coming up as you. Yeah.
Okay, so now we know who we are. I presume that this list here is the list that's being under review by the working party. I'm very concerned to see a couple of items on here because they're not grants. You know, the Main Street Promotion and Marketing Levy, it's not a grant. That's what that is. And I don't know whether members, may I explain this, please? Years ago, we used to collect money for marketing in the CBD. I personally used to go around and collect the money, and it was That's all I can tell you. We went to the council and said, would you collect this money for us? And because we weren't getting paid, we weren't getting money from the out-of-town businesses, the Helen Steins and the farmers and those sorts of places. The small local retailers were paying it all. So council said, yes, we'll start this, we'll do this levy, and it'll be levied on CBDA and CBDB. So it's not a grant. We haven't got a decision to make of whether we grant this money or not. Perhaps those members could come and, the people in the CBD could come and say, well, we don't want this anymore, and then it would just stop. But until that happens, it's a targeted rate that we're passing on, and I don't think it should be put alongside these other items there. And I'm also concerned.
Actually, sorry, Rob, before you continue, I might just address that particular point first. Lance, do you have a comment on that, or is that something we should discuss further with David? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Carry on.
And the waste levy fund and the events fund are down there as varies. Why is that? We know how much we're going to get in the waste levy fund. It's nothing complicated. We know it used to be about 130,000. It's considerably more. Why was it necessary, whoever wrote this report, to put varies beside waste levy fund and events fund?
I'd hazard a guess on the waste levy fund that it's that it's because it's a levy based on, well, the amount that councils receive across the country is based on 50% of the tonnage sent from waste to landfill. That was my understanding, and so it by nature would vary depending on the tonnage levels.
We know how much it is. We know how much we've been getting, and it doesn't vary from payment to payment. You know, so I mean, we know how much we're going to get in the next financial year. So I don't know why it says varied.
The government has altered the tonnage levy rate quite considerably over the last. Yeah, exactly. So it varies.
Yeah. No, it doesn't. It varied over a 4-year period, and the 4-year period has come to an end. And it went from $10 a tonne to $60 a tonne. We're now at the $60 a tonne.
I'll see if Lance wants to make a comment on
All
that.
I was really going to say was I think you're going into a bit of detail here, Rob. This was just a bit of an example from David of the list of grant funding. And so you've raised a couple of points here that I'm happy to go back to talk to him about, but we didn't come in prepared to answer that level of detail on this report. It's just an overarching report on how things get reported into here. So, but I can take those couple of actions away.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Helen.
Yeah, sorry, I was on. I just couldn't get my system to get back to be able to speak to you. If you would like me to talk a little bit about the status of the review.
Yeah, great. Go for it.
Thank you. I have met with Lauren Tamahana, the officer who's going to work alongside us for the review. I've met with her and set up discussed the process of the meetings and the dates and what we'll deal with in each meeting. And those dates are in the diary for those who are on the committee, and I guess all councillors are always welcome anyway. So I think you'll all see it in your diary, and so we will go through the process of reviewing all of this. So it's all in hand. We hope to get it done by November or in November, and it'll report back to this committee, I would presume. And I hear what Rob's saying about the Main Street Promotion and Marketing Levy. I agree. I don't think that's something that's within the review because it's of what it is, but it doesn't matter. It's in there. We've got a full list and we'll work through that as a committee. Okay.
Perfect. Thanks, Helen. And I'll go to Peter next, unless there are any questions for Helen on the review process. No? Okay, I'll go to Peter.
Yes, thank you, Lance, for just being the messenger rather than the... would it be possible for that list and in future lists that we have another column that says which delegation it comes under? Like it's, is it a line item funding, a contestable pool, or a contestable pool from grant funding?
Oh, that would be easy enough. I don't know if I don't know if you'll get another report necessarily like this. This is just the overview report, but I think, you know, it would be easy enough to add that line in.
Good, thank you.
May I speak, Mr. Chair?
If it's on that topic, yes.
Yes, it is. So the review that we are currently undertaking will examine all of the types of grant funding in terms of categories, whether it's should something stay line item, should it stay, you know, the type of grant funding. And the report that comes back to you will discuss in detail all the different types of grant funding and why, and give you an opportunity to decide if you want to change it or not or streamline it. And from there, a final report would come that would clearly state for your voting that this is it should stay a line item funding. So what Peter wants will come through very clearly, but you've still got a decision-making process to go through before we finalise all of that. Thank you.
Thank you for clarifying that, Helen.
Perfect. And I'll go to, Kate, you don't have a question. Fantastic, thank you. And a seconder, please. Charlotte will second. Any comments? Philippa.
Yeah, I mean, it's important that we have this report in this committee. Obviously, it's where it sits. Look forward to the review. I'm going to be part of that review. I mean, it gives a good overview, but I think there is some lacking detail. And you know, I think we just got to get some terminology a bit right. Like the sport and recreation grants. If I'm sitting there online listening, I'm thinking as a sporting club, 50 grand up. What do I do here? Put in an application like I might for 4 regions. It's sport and recreation facilities grant funding, and I think that might not even be the exact term, but we need to get the terms right. I do look forward. I think there's things here, and I won't say it again, but there's something here that people are going to go, what really? It's getting some more funding. So really important, all our grant funding is here. Everything's up for a really good review and reporting back. Thank you.
Thanks, Philippa, and I'll just make the point that I asked for this report in the chair's briefing because, aware that this is a new committee and wanted to have the committee and the community aware of what the reporting would look like going into the future. But as Lance said previously, it is only an introductory report and the detail will come as necessary. No for Andrew, did you have a comment? Okay, perfect. All those in favour? Against? That's carried. Fantastic. And time's up, yeah, 45 minutes. We'll whiz through. Okay, so the community portfolio update. Obviously, when Mayor Andrew introduced the new governance structure, we included new portfolio holders for a range of different areas. This is the first report that I've presented as the community portfolio lead. It's fairly straightforward because obviously it's very much in the introductory stages. But I just wanted to make a couple of points before I hand over to any elected member to give an update on the area if they'd like to. Just emphasising for the community that these portfolios are political in nature. They are intended to be outward facing. They are intended to be primarily about elected members engaging with the community or the communities that are relevant to their portfolio areas. They aren't intended to be operational, and I've put in the report that I'd encourage elected members who do receive operational requests from the community to always be referring back through the channels like Antenno, SnapSense, Solve, for instance, so that we can cut out the middleman, so to speak, and ensure that they are getting logged appropriately within the council system. The other point that I'd like to make is I had a reminder from an elected member previously to ensure that if at all possible, if you're dealing with a constituent issue that is relevant to another elected member's portfolio, to make sure that as a matter of courtesy you are CCing them in or just letting them know what's going on just so elected members who have a oversight of a particular area can be aware of what's going on in their portfolio. So just wanted to make that point as well. That's probably all from me that I need to say at this point, but I do want to hand it over to any elected member that wants to give an update to speak on the area. I'll start with Kate.
Thank you. And apologies for missing the cut-off for getting a written report in. I just wanted to give a bit of an update about activity within the housing portfolio. I mean, many of you will be aware what we're doing at council, but just to run through. So in July, I attended a previous workshop with our people from Deloitte's KPMG, around developing for the business case for the Housing Trust, and we've since had a workshop about that. I know there are a couple of members who weren't able to attend that, so I would strongly urge those that were unable to attend that you listen to the recording, because it's going to be a really important piece of work going forward. In August, I met with the ratepayer regarding the rates burden, and in particular his situation, or their situation, where they had a little granny flat, so they were getting charged for 2 SUIPs, which is difficult. And then you'll have seen in the press there, I met with a ratepayer regarding granny flats in the front yards, and that's become increasingly topical issue, and I know that we're discussing that. We had the housing trust model workshop in September. I also attended the housing homely meeting arranged by the Koha Shed, and the Carl Bates was there, and we took that opportunity to reinforce, and we're going to follow up our requests for a local review of the local accommodation supplement, because that hasn't been looked at for a number of years. It makes a big difference to anybody who's wanting to get some assistance with their accommodation costs, because it presupposes a very low rental, which is long gone in Wanganui. I keep in touch with the People Centre around other options for homelessness. I've met with Din Bandara, who's now the man at the Wanganui Community Foundation, and he's very interested in the homelessness and easing the housing burden. And we continue to have our housing reference group, which is part of the umbrella group, Safer Wanganui, that's run through council. So thank you.
Awesome, thanks Kate. Are you happy to take questions if anyone's got any? Does anyone have any questions? Charlotte.
I noted that the Ratepayer Association is holding a meeting on housing and homelessness. Are you intending?
On Thursday.
Yeah, on Thursday. Are you intending to go along? That's great.
Perfect. Is there anyone else that would like to give a portfolio update?
There's a bit of confusion, I think, about the portfolio lead for future industries. It's got my name against it, but I managed to convince Councillor Law that to take that mantle. So, but in lieu of that, I just want to report on what that actually means, what future industries is about. It's probably a little bit vague, but when you read about future industries, but in Wanganui, we are, as has been highlighted before, well below the curve in regard to average household income, average GDP per capita, productivity, and so on. And if we carry on in the trajectory that we're going, we'll get further behind as a district. And so future industries is really looking at what are those industries in our future as part of our Future for Wanganui work, which will help us to get hopefully at least on par with the rest of New Zealand, if not ahead of the game. And so for me, a couple of those industries that we're looking at right now are technology, particularly how AI plays a role in from a horizontal perspective across industry and how technology does that as well, but also from a vertical perspective. In other words, how do we create an industry in its own right? How do we create a technology, AI, digital industry and companies setting up here in Wanganui? So a vertical and horizontal perspective. And also renewable energy or energy security is going to be another industry that we need to play in that space as well. So that's just a couple of examples of things that we're looking at, and we've had a really good session with the technology group in Wanganui around what does the future look like for technology, and there's some really good input into that to start that process. There's more to come. And likewise, we've also had some big industry here that have been talking to us about particularly offshore wind, but there's the opportunity, as you've seen, with solar and so on as well. So energy is going to be a big factor for us in the future, and we need to play in that space now. So that's what we're doing. So that's early days on future industry. In regard to a couple of the other ones there, I think I've reported on those in here, but I just wanted to give a verbal update on that one. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. Any questions for Andrew on that topic? No? In which case,
Quick question.
you've got it. Yep.
Where does Wanganui and Partners play into that technology thing? I would have thought that would have been part of their, brief.
Yep, so they were involved, for example, in the workshop that we had with the technology group. Wanganui and Partners were part of that, but when we think about the future for Wanganui and the work that our council is doing, that's in my view, it's for this council to lead what our future looks like, lead the direction of this of our district, and Wanganui and Partners will have a key role to play in that.
Thank you, Andrew.
Perfect. I'll go to Charlotte.
Thank you, Chair. I'll just sort of rattle off some things that I've been doing. I hold 3 portfolios, which I'm sort of starting to realise now is actually quite a lot. And inevitably one sort of lags a little bit. So my portfolios are climate change and sustainability. I hold a youth portfolio and the art activation portfolio. So under climate change and sustainability, I spent a day volunteering with Sustainable Wanganui and learned about all of the organisations and work that comes under that umbrella. I've had initial engagement with council officers to better understand our climate strategy and work that's on our work program and underway at the moment. I'm currently building relationships. I'm currently building relationships around the Trans-Tasman resources, seabed mining, and beginning to understand where our community sits on that issue. I sit on the Public Transport Regional Committee, and I've been engaging with relevant parties in the lead up to the Sargent Gallery opening to ensure that there is public transport available not only for the day but for the gallery in terms of a bus stop. In terms of arts, I've met a group looking to build a sort of support and advocacy network in the events sector, which is looking like a really great way forward that sort of meets council strategy as well. Alongside Councillor Craig, I met with the Community Arts Centre to establish an initial relationship and to hear concerns that they have about costs. I began building a relationship with the Repertory Theatre, which seemed really appropriate with the long-term plan resolution. And with youth, I sit on a strategic leadership group for Smoke Free and Vape Free, which is an ongoing committee with meetings, and I sort of stepped into that role with a keen interest in the impact that vaping is having on our youth, particularly in schools. And so there's a lot of work around there in terms of connecting health and education and relevant stakeholders in our community. And an update on the youth initiatives resolution from the long-term plan. This is taking a lot longer than I had initially hoped. So the resolution stated that a working group needed to be established and report back within 6 months of the long-term plan. That's looking like it's not going to be achievable. There's actually a number of stakeholders in the youth sector involved in this, and heading towards the end of the year, it's an incredibly busy sector, and it's a little bit like herding cats, but it is coming together and it's looking like it will be really productive and a really good piece of work. So I'm really excited in what could come from that, and that sort of sums it up. Thank you very much.
Awesome. No, thanks for the thorough update. Any questions? No. Any further updates? Rob.
Yeah, thank you. I'm feeling a bit of a lame duck portfolio leader, actually, because I've been away for a month, and that hasn't helped, but also struggling to get information from management, and it's a real difficulty of being an effective portfolio leader if you are denied access to key people. And I hope that when the Chief Executive returns, he listens to this and actually looks at the situation. And
Rob, sorry, I just want to make one comment before you continue. Can you refrain from using terms like denied access? I don't mind having a conversation about access to information.
That's the truth.
But just in terms of...
Can't deny the truth.
Sure, but I'm just aware that, you know, we're co-chairs of this committee, and it's probably more appropriate at this point for us to have a conversation with the Chief Executive once he's back about protocols around that. So I'm happy for you to continue, but can you just watch the language?
Yeah. Well, it is frustrating, and let's see where this journey leads us to, because it's not only affecting the waste portfolio, it's affecting the infrastructure portfolio and others that I'm involved in, and I dare say it's affecting the portfolios that others are involved in. As far as the infrastructure portfolio is concerned, I had a contact from a resident in Nixon Street. And those who are aware, the Nixon Street mains renewal project has been going on for several years. They said that they and their neighbours want to know, when will it end? Because what they see is just what they read in the paper. So I'm now making contact with the appropriate people in council, because these people deserve more information. And as portfolio lead, I would like more information about that as well. So that is a key concern of myself at this point in time, and I hope that we can get this resolved. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob. I'll go to Philippa next, and then we'll wrap up on the updates.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I won't say any more on my brief written update. I think it would be good though if we, I think need to just a little bit, and I think I've expressed to you a couple of times, Chair, did really well at getting some updates here, and there's some excellent updates from people, but just that timeline.
We'll leave them
and maybe we could have a bit of a template. Maybe sure. It's an idea, yeah. But in regard, I just to say that I also met briefly yesterday with Marianne Kavanagh around the Wongi Aquatic Network Plan. Council's going to have a workshop on Thursday, so that's that's in progress, and it was good just to get a chance just to really for her to give me as I guess, that portfolio holder in that area, a bit of an update on what she's thinking and any input into the workshop on Thursday. But I think it's important to note, it is wider than just Whanganui East School pool issue as such. It really is, it really is about understanding, particularly Whanganui, possibly, but regionally, but, at the full scope of what we've got, indoor, outdoor, pool-wise. Obviously, the rivers and our coastal, obviously they feature in it a bit, but they're not considered an outdoor pool. But knowing what we've got, some of the stats that will come also from Sport New Zealand, etc., on where we sit across, New Zealand, as far as are we under or over or under in that area of pool accessibility, etc. But also, really important that we're a different district from other districts, so obviously our population, our ethnicity, our the whole, affordability issue and access. But I think that really is not going to be, that's going to give us a really, there's apologies, external, there's an external group who've been, that was funded, that are doing this, project for us with our input, but this is not going to be where we're going to have all the answers. This is really to update us on what they're looking at in this plan, for us to have some input before they really go ahead and do it, and I think it's got about a 6-month time frame.
Great, thank you, Philippa, and I'll
Happy to move.
thank you, Kate, and a seconder for that, please, Glenda. All those.
I'll just speak to it
Oh
if
yes,
I may.
sorry.
Thank you very much for the report. Did you authorise it? Actually,
I don't think so. I wrote it. I didn't authorise it.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, thanks very much, and thanks for your leadership in this space, Josh. And I'd also like to just congratulate the team. I continue to have what I think are excellent relationships with staff, and there's never any problem with access to information. I'm certainly hearing that from Philippa. So, yeah, just want to record my thanks.
Perfect. Thank you, Kate.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And I'll go to Andrew next.
Okay, no, thank you. So, look, I'm really pleased to see this up and running. So, the portfolio concept is now reality. So, at the end of the day, this is entirely up to each individual portfolio holder as to the success or otherwise of each of these. And I think it's pretty clear what is required. There's a brief job description there on page 38 or page 3 of the terms of reference, which is basically taking council closer to the people, taking council to the people. It's very easy. We sit in here often making decisions for our community, but the portfolios are designed for us to get out and about into our into our portfolio areas in particular, to meet with the people on the ground who actually have the real answers often, and are experts often in their areas. So I think hopefully that's what everyone is doing, is getting out and about, meeting those key people in your portfolio. And the other one is the other part of this as well. So community connection is the first of the 3 focus areas for the portfolio holders. The second one is a point of contact and advocacy. So this is where we can speak up on behalf of that particular portfolio here, or in other mediums and different channels, and including to central government as well. And there is, particularly with the amount of change that's going on, it's we need to speak up, not just in Whanganui, but also you'll find that there are common issues and around the country that we can speak on behalf of, speak with others as well, to have more of a force. And the third focus area here is data analysis and insights. And to make good decisions, there is plenty of information, both online but also recorded with Infometrics, with Whanganui Partners, inside our own council itself, that we can draw from. And it's all there to add to the story, to add to our own understanding, and to make decisions from. So So I think we're well set up, and I just encourage everyone to really get behind this concept and see if we can really make a difference. The real prize to me is that we see projects, a point of entry business case, and then projects eventuate from this, where ideas bubble up from the community, and decisions are made around this table, and they come to fruition. So bring it on. So no, it's exciting. So thank you for the updates, everyone. Yeah.
Thanks, Andrew. I'll go Charlotte, then Ross, and then we'll wrap up.
Thank you. Thank you very much again, for your leadership, Josh and Andrew, for being so responsive to requests for specific areas. I'm really pleased with the synergy between my portfolios, and it's been really great to get out into the community with a more kind of considered direction. And I would also like to thank the staff for being really responsive and supportive when it counts. So thanks very much, everyone, and thanks for the report.
Thanks, Charlotte. Ross.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Josh, for your leadership. It's made it very connected and easy to follow. And I thank the Mayor for the initiative, because we don't have a ward system, which I oppose anyway. But if you have a ward system, everybody in your area comes at you with a multitude of things. You know, you have to be a jack of all trades and a master of none. And under the councillor system, we're at large, and we still get lots of inquiries. I got one the other day that was so exciting, I couldn't wait to get into it. And I went, oh, it's not my area. Temper it, back off. And I referred it to a colleague, and some cross over 4 or 5 portfolios, and somebody needs to take the lead there. So for me, it's a way of, as the Mayor said, it's taking council to the community. And if the community wishes to come to us, it's exciting. I don't want to be a jack of all trades and a master of none. And I'm really excited by the portfolio, the one that I've got. Charlotte's got 3, but I've got 1. And I'm very keen to grow into that. And hopefully that connection point for the public on my area is such that they feel they're being heard directly by an elected member, even if I or my colleagues need to say, would you mind, we need to refer this on to another colleague, or would you mind, we need to send this directly to operational. And I'm happy to be CC'd into the response. So I find it very exciting to see where this is going to go. In a city of 50,000 people, it's a nice way to create a conduit where they can be heard, valued and responded to. I'm not sure how it's going to evolve. I know I've already stepped on a couple of toes accidentally in my enthusiasm, but that's the nature of being on council. It's a great place to be, so thank you.
Nice wrap up, Ross. Thanks. So I'll put the recommendation that we receive the report. Can I have a, wait, no, I've done that. All those in favour? Aye. Against, carried. And we'll, oh no, we've got one more to go. So it's the draft work program. Lance, I don't know if you want to comment at all on that. It's all pretty straightforward, and obviously it'll fill out as things develop as well, and we'll add more detail into that. Philippa, take it.
Are we going to really have deep diver reports?
Yes, absolutely.
Deep diver. Awesome.
Yep.
Right.
So similar model to what we do with the with the Risk and Assurance Committee.
Okay.
Where every quarter, or I can't remember the timeline, but we do look in detail at some of the risk areas, and we thought we'd emulate that model as part of this committee as well.
Love it. I thought there might have been an extra R on the end, but that's good.
I have fixed the CE's spelling of that many times, and he keeps putting it in with an R on the end.
But maybe it's around the.
Maybe
I thought it was around the aquatics plan or something.
Could be an English thing.
I see what you mean. Kate.
So my question is around that subject, the deep dive reports. What is the December deep dive report? We don't know yet.
No, we haven't determined what the deep dive reports will be yet. It's like I said, we felt that it would be a good model.
Look, I get
but-
it's early on in the proceedings in this, but yeah, I look forward to seeing that populated across the year in terms of what the deep dives will be, because if you're going to do a deep dive for December, I would have thought it would kind of be in the thinking now, but perhaps not. All good.
Perfect. Andrew.
Yeah, just on the particular table there, the work program. I am wondering why on there isn't the project criteria, the prioritisation, project prioritisation list. Is that a standard report that would be coming to council? Reason being, if it's going to chop and change,
When
we're
you
dynamic.
When you talk about project prioritisation, are you talking about the one that we received prior to adopting the long-term plan?
Yes, I'm
The
talking
full-
about talking about the one that's kind of got the highest ranked projects, and we've got a line down the bottom which is, and below the line they don't make the grade. So, the reason I say that is because if we are going to have a dynamic environment where we can alter projects as we go, depending on whether we believe that that they should go into the list at any time. It'd be great to be able to review that as a standing item, because just to see if there's any changes. If there's no changes, that's great, but if there are changes, it'd be good to just see those on that list.
Yeah, I mean, what I can do is talk with David about it and Trish. I would imagine that what you're talking about will form part of the project reporting work program, which obviously includes the tier 1 and 2 projects. And if there were any changes, the changes would appear as part of that reporting. Because tier 1 and 2 are the ranked projects anyway that are above the line. So just to make sure I understand, you're talking about including the full list of all capital projects as part of this work program.
Yeah, so maybe it's the work program. It's just the definitions here. I'm not sure. So maybe someone else could answer that question. But anyway, you've heard me. So
Sure.
it may be the work program. It's just really making sure that we're on top of the prioritisation, project prioritisation list, and seeing what's chopping and changing and what's moving in and out of that on a regular basis. But I assume that's the work program, but I'm just not sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, if we flick back to the first update, you saw in there that all the key capital projects that are tier 1 and 2 are mapped out over the 10-year period. And so if there were any changes to that particular program, they would feature in that 10-year work program.
Yeah, I'd assume that's the case.
Yeah.
So if that's what it means, then that's great. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, but I can try and get further clarity on that too, just so for future reporting it's clear.
Well, I was just going to suggest that chopping in and chopping out would only happen further to an annual plan consultation process. So it won't be that dynamic that it will be needed every meeting, because you're planning ahead for a year. So you would get an update on the prioritisation tool. I mean, it should come to this committee for information, but that would be as an outcome of the annual plan consultation process.
Right, we might need to take this offline, because I thought that, we're getting into discussion here, but I would have thought that we have provision in this Projects and Grants Committee to look at additional projects outside of the annual plan process.
Yeah, you're right. So, and that's the point I was going to make. So before all that, if a new project comes along and it goes through and it gets past Trish and then it gets past ELT, this will be the next place it comes. So that would be a completely new project that someone has decided is critical or necessary, and meets the strategic alignment. That would come here first. So you'll get the first look at it then, and then from there there'll be a path as to where it sort of heads towards annual plan, etc.
Okay, so then the line on here should be point of entry business cases to come to the committee. So
yeah, I guess we need
you'd
to be
have a
fluid
line.
with that, because like at the moment we've got none, so we can't guess when they're going to happen, but I guess it could just be a standing
Yeah,
line.
you can have it as a standing
Yep.
item and then just nothing to report this
Yeah,
month.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
easy, yeah.
Great. Okay, can I have a mover, please? Kate, and a seconder, Andrew. Any comments? No comments. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? That's carried. And I'll wrap up with a closing karakia. E oha ki runga ki a ranginui, e oha ki raro ki a papatūnuku, whakatairanga, te kupu, te kōrero, te mahi, ki te pau o te whare, he taonga, he mahi a muri, ka puta ki te waiao, ki te ao marama, haumie, huie, tai ki e. Thanks everyone. Good meeting.